Welcome to Momentum Investing, property investing made easy. One of the world's top podcasts on property investing, bringing you the top experts in the field so you can learn firsthand what it takes to create passive income and take control over your financial future.
Welcome to the Momentum Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wood, one of the founders of Momentum Property Education. And let me welcome you to this episode. I am super excited to have you here because we are interviewing two of our students, Susanna and Cecilia. They've had such an amazing journey. They started out with investments a few years ago, and they're going to talk about how they went from, a regular job to becoming investors. What's exciting about Susanna and Cecilia is that they are sisters that are doing this together and supporting each other. They started investing and they had massive setbacks in their initial investments. Then they refigured, reset, and they smashed it in 2020. A year when people were saying that it was impossible, that it was challenging, that it was hard. Well, these sisters broke the mold and proved that no matter what's going on outside, if you're strong on the inside, you will be successful. This is going to be an amazing episode that you can learn from. You can see what did they do well, what did they do poorly, what do they think you should do differently, as well as the inspiration of seeing that you can succeed, you can become financially free, you can build a property portfolio. So let's jump in right away with Susanna and Cecilia and learn what it takes to be successful. All right, so I am here with Susanna and Cecilia. We are super excited to have you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is really fun for me because you are, in difference to me, you're actually real people. So I'm not a real person.
Yes, I'm real.
Exactly. Well, a lot of people ask, like, Daniel, it's great that you've done property, but do real people actually do property? So I guess I'm not.
So we are the real persons.
But you are real people, and you're here, and you have done property. So I'm so excited to have you here to kind of share your journey and what you've done, and maybe some of the roadblocks, setbacks, and kind of how you work that out, some lessons learned on the way. So before we get into the details of what you've done, can you tell us a little bit about your background? Like, who were you before you became property investors?
Shall you start, Susanna?
Okay. So I've been working in IT for 30 years, and that's what I've been doing. And then I suddenly ran into some trainings. It was not actually property then, but more into what can you get a passive income from. Yeah. And then, of course, property is one of them. So that's what I was doing before I started the property journey.
Right. So you had a regular job, you were in IT, and then something sparked your interest for this alternative universe of passive income, and property became the key thing for you in it.
Yeah.
Very cool. Cecilia, how about you?
Yeah, I'm working at a small manufacturing company here in Lysekil, where I live on the west coast, Sweden, west coast. And I work as a purchaser and production planning, and I still do. So we still work 100%, both of us, and manage the properties after works, so to speak. So it was Susanna who introduced me to one of the courses that we made in actually 3 years ago.
This is all her fault.
Yeah, it's her fault. Yeah. She was into a lot of things. Yeah. And she introduced me to very many things that she thought were, aren't you interested in this? And I don't know. But when she came to properties, I thought that this might be something good.
Finally, something real.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I love the point you make that you both have full-time jobs, because that's a question a lot of people have. Do I have to quit my job to start investing in property? Obviously, no. You're doing it together. You both have full-time jobs, and somehow you figure out ways to get it done anyway. So how do you do that? I mean, how are you able to run a property business while working full-time? I mean, there's only that much time in a day.
That's the one thing that is equal to everybody. 24 hours is what we have. I didn't start with doing so much in the beginning. I was kind of lazy. So I was doing just some random things, but when you start, it was actually when we started having coaching that everything changes. So if you want to have a more faster journey, then you need to have a coach. So that's when we started actually to doing the real thing. And before that, I was into a lot of Netflix, not so much anymore.
Right.
So what's happening is that I work during the day, and when I come home, I start my property journey. So having several hours of Zoom calls like this one with potential investors and with our JV partners in UK. And that's sort of what we do until we reach our goal.
Very exciting. Cecilia, is it the same for you? Or?
Yeah, it is. And I mean, since we started, really started, it was in February this year.
Right.
Yeah.
So it has been a lot of work during the nights. Not nights, because I'm a morning person and I fall asleep at 10 o'clock in the morning, in the night, in the evening. But we have done so many things and so many meetings, and but it's worth it. But we have also sold everything with, maybe we can talk about that later, but with JVs, we have everything we do is JV. We are JVing with other persons in the UK.
I love that there's a lot you just mentioned here in a very short period of time, but I love the fact that you've got a coach, you're keeping yourself accountable, you're focusing, you're finding that balance between, you get work done. And then I think you would agree, sometimes this does feel like play, doesn't it? It's not really work when you're building the dream kind of thing.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of frustration, of course. It's not
Absolutely.
only just, oh, wow, this is so fun. You get a lot of setbacks. And everything takes a lot of longer time than you think from the beginning. So you need to have patience and you need to just keep moving because everything, and we are doing everything in UK, and there's a lot of bureaucracy.
Yeah.
So much more than in Sweden, and you cannot imagine how frustrating that can be.
Yeah, no, I completely get it. And I want to get into these the details of the property here in a moment, because I think that is one of the things where a lot of people see kind of if you say the Facebook version of reality, right? Where people are just like, yeah, I just bought this, I did this. And you start asking yourself, like, well, if it's that easy, why isn't everyone a billionaire, right? Why haven't they all just, if they've been doing this for 30 years and they're buying 2 properties a day, they got to be multi-billionaires by now. But there are challenges, there are setbacks, and I think that's where the real lessons are, because it's possible, but if you and it's easier if you can avoid those setbacks. So let's get into that. I want to just do a clarification of a terminology. You guys are obviously into it. You guys have been doing property now for a while. So you just throw with terms like JV, right? And JV is a joint venture partnership. Basically, you guys, if I'm guessing right, you have a partner or partners in the UK who find a deal, they project manage it, they do all the work, they take care of that, but they don't put in any money. So their job is to handle the deal. Your job is to handle the money, either from your own funds or by bringing on investors. And then that's how you partner. You do the money, they do the deal, and then you split profit and revenues and everything else.
Yeah, great. Right.
Yeah, very good. And that's a great way. We had Shimon Rudish on an earlier episode, one of our first episodes, and he talked a lot about, when you have a JV partnership, it's got to be that 1 + 1 isn't 2. It's got to be 1 + 1 becomes 3. So a lot of people go together and they might have the money to buy 1 buy-to-let. And then they go together with someone, and now they have the money to buy 2 buy-to-lets. And it's, well, now you actually just own half of 2 buy-to-lets. What you guys have done is you found a way to leverage the time of the people there, because I can imagine they're working full time on property, while you guys can now just do it part-time because you give them all the work. But
most of them are actually working 100% as well with a normal job, but they are still doing the work as we do in the evenings and weekends.
Yeah, and I mean, for you guys, they couldn't do what they're doing without you because they wouldn't have the money. So it's a great win-win, split the entire job in half and then build a portfolio. So that's really exciting. You said you started for real in February. When did you start? Let's say, when did you start originally?
In 2017, that was when we had the different trainings.
Right.
So like property trainings, it was actually several of them. And from one of them, we get to know you.
Exactly. Yeah. So you've been at it for about 3 years. And then in February, you got that proper coaching and you just exploded from there. So let's get into that. Talk about some of your deals. What have you done in the past? Well, we can call it 3 years or 9 months. I guess most of it has happened in the last 9 months. So what has happened?
Well, we started after the course that we made. I think we started, the main thing was that we were going to do this in Sweden.
Right. That's where your original mindset was. We're doing it locally. We live in Sweden. We're buying in Sweden. We're doing deals here. Yeah. And
we were to look at some properties, but it was so crazy when the bidding started. So it wasn't any good business to do that.
Right. The deals went from good to bad in the bidding war.
Yeah. Because everybody was choosing to live in them. And we were discussing them to do business. And then the equation didn't work out.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's like when we compare, for example, buying a property to keep or buying to flip. Obviously, if you're buying to keep, you're getting at best 75% loan to value. So you're leaving 25% in the deal that you could have gotten if you flipped. Now, I like buy to keep. That made me sound like I want to flip everything. But comparing you as an investor to a home buyer, you need to get that 10, 20, 15, whatever percent profit while the home buyer doesn't. So obviously they can bid higher and bid more and probably get better loans as well because they're doing it as a home mortgage and you're a business mortgage. So
yeah. And what we do that we went to the course. You had several. I only had one, but now we started to look at the UK, and then Brexit came.
Yeah.
So I started to get nervous because my manager at work, I think it was his fault. I think because he made me nervous because he's very into economic and talked a lot. We have some business partners in the UK or suppliers.
Right.
So I thought, Jesus, this will not be good. And then I talked to Susanna, and we had moved money to the UK, didn't we? Yeah. And then you found another way of doing business in the United States. So we moved the money to the United States and bought 2 houses, one house together, and you had another house, which was maybe a huge mistake. It was a huge mistake. Yeah.
Well, and I know a bit of the background there. I mean, that was a one of those cases of a bad sourcing agent taking advantage of, and I know they took advantage of a whole lot of Swedish investors. Yeah. And but you were able to finally kind of extract yourselves out of that deal.
Yeah. So we lost a lot of money and learned a lot of things. So I think that's a good thing about it. You cannot regret things that you have done. And if you lose money, okay, that's money, and you can get it back some other way. And that's what we're doing in UK now. Yeah.
And this was around this time when you were kind of halfway through. That's when we met. I think the first time was you'd done that deal, you were regretting that deal, and then it was time to refocus. So you finally extracted yourselves. As you say, you learned things. But as you know, this is why I am so skeptical to sourcing agents. That's why I'm always going like, be careful, don't do this, rather than being that motivating person going, but you got into the UK instead, and you've done a lot of things there in the last just few months.
Yeah, we went back with the Brexit still ongoing, and after that, COVID. So,
it's been an interesting year, yeah.
Very much.
Yeah, so we have Stockport deal that you're well aware of, where we're doing 14 apartments.
Yeah,
14 apartments and 3 commercial units. And there's been some struggles there as well, but about to get the lending. We hope. We keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah. That is COVID times. Lending is not as easy as it usually is.
No.
But when that comes through, that deal will be really, really good. You've also done some HMOs and rent-to-rents, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
So we have a deal where we bought a 3-bed house, which we're going to turn into a 7-bedroom house it's going to be an HMO, which we rent out to professionals, which is preferable. It is in that area. It's in Derby. So it's in the area where
I know Derby. I've had a property there, bought and sold, sadly. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So what kind of professionals are you aiming for?
It's either the one that is working for Rolls-Royce or from the hospital. So it's in the area where it's close to both of them. Very good.
That's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, and we got the lending ready. It's like, I think we're in the development of week 7 or 8 now, or something like that. And it will be ready in February somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's when we're going to get some people in, some tenants.
But
and
this
for
is
everyone
also...
who doesn't know the terminology HMO, that means house of multiple occupancy. Basically, what you guys are doing, you're buying a 3-bedroom house, which is, I'm guessing, over 2 floors or maybe even 3 floors.
We make an extension to a 3rd floor.
To a 3rd floor even, yeah. So that's where then you convert some of the like offices or whatever people call their dining rooms and stuff into bedrooms. You have one shared lounge, you have a shared kitchen, then you might have individual bathrooms, but you also have shared bathrooms, and then you rent it out by the room to get an extremely high rent, which is nice. We like that.
Yeah, we do.
But this has also been a long journey because when did we get
we got the deal approved in March, I think. So we got the offer accepted in March.
Yeah.
But we got the lending in 7th of October. I think that's when we received the money. So that's when we complete.
Right.
Yeah, and
so
started.
Essentially 12 months after you bought the property is when you expect to have your first rents come in.
Yeah.
Or actually offer accepted, we should say.
Yeah, from offer accepted.
Not bought. But from the moment you emotionally bought the property, it's going to have taken 12 months before those first rental payments come in. And that's the thing. It's important to understand that for anyone. Property isn't a quick moving asset. It's very, very slow. It takes time. But once it's done, then it's gold. Then it just rolls. It grows in value. Derby's a great area, just right outside of Birmingham. It's going to grow in appreciation over the long term. Your rents are going to go up over the long term, and it's going to be amazing property. Even though year one, you're going, oh, can't it be done? Very good. You've done a bunch of other deals too. What more have you done?
Yes, we wanted to have cash flow more quickly. So we were looking at, this wasn't not our plan from the beginning, but we started to buy, you're not buying rent-to-rents, but
acquire.
Yeah, acquire.
Yeah.
So this was, I don't know, did we start with this? In August, September?
Yeah, somewhere like that.
Yeah. So we have a goal to have like 10 rent-to-rents before the new year, and we have 6.
We have 6.
Yeah. So I guess
very good. That is really good. So what are your so essentially for anyone listening now, we'll terminology explain again here. So if a rent to rent is what it sounds like, you rent a property to rent it out. Usually, therefore, it's, you rent it as a buy-to-let, essentially. You'll pay the regular buy-to-let rents. Sometimes you pay a premium. Sometimes you get a discount because you usually sign a long contract. And then you have to kind of shift strategy, because that's how you increase the rent of the property and make your in-between profit. So what have you shifted to?
So it's actually rent HMO.
Rent HMO, very exciting. Yeah. So have you all 6 of them? All 6 are rent HMO?
All 6 of them are rent HMO.
Very cool. And have you had to go in and do refurbs there or get the HMO licenses?
No, the HMO licenses were already there. Yeah. So what we've done is actually, slight refurb. Not so much because it's not our building, so we don't want to put in so much money.
Oh yeah, you don't want to be doing an extension or like you guys are doing on yours. You don't want to build a third floor on someone else's house.
No. So what we've done is like exchange furniture, paint, exchange some floors, not floors,
carpets.
Carpets.
Oh right, yeah. So were these run as HMOs before, and you kind of took them over now?
Yeah.
Right. So it's like a landlord who's kind of misrun them, is tired of it, doesn't want to do it. And you're basically saying, we're going to give you a nice, good rent. We guarantee it. No questions asked. And then you're going to make an uplift.
Yeah. And then we have a 5-year contract.
5-year contract. Very good.
Yes,
Are there
and
any
then we
break
have a
clauses?
fixed fee.
Fixed fee. Right. Okay. Very cool.
For
Are
the
there any
landlord.
break clauses during the process?
Pardon?
Are there any break clauses? So if something goes wrong, can you cancel the contract, or how?
We have every half year, like a revisit of the contract sort of thing.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Because what's interesting about that's a very common kind of debate between people in the rent-to-rent space, because like, you guys have done work, you've spent money, so you want to have that 5-year contract to make sure you can make the money back.
Yeah.
Obviously, though, if something happened and all of a sudden maybe you're not allowed to run an HMO in this area, then you don't want to be spending all that money to the landlord and not getting rent. So you want to have a break clause. But in rental contracts, the break clause always goes both ways. So if you, as the renter, wants to have a break clause, that means the owner can have a break clause, which in this case becomes scary because you've done the tidying up, you've done the work, you've got the tenants in there. You don't want the landlord going, oh, great, now I'll just take this back and I'll run it.
No, that's true.
Very good. All right, cool. So how long will it take to make your money back from the deal? That's if that's okay to ask.
Yeah, so between 6 months and 8 months.
Oh, that's very good. So essentially, you put X number of pounds in, 6 to 8 months later, you have all the money back out, and then you got 4+ years of pure profit.
Yeah. And hopefully that will also increase as the rents tend to increase over time. So
and your rent to the landlord is fixed for the 5 years. So any increase in rent is actually your profit.
It's our profit.
Very cool. Very cool.
You don't earn as much as you do with an HMO when you have a rent-to-rent, but you still earn money. And we are doing JVs with this as well. So we split it 50-50.
Yeah.
They do the work and we have the money, the funds. But if you have a lot of rents, you can still get a good cash flow. Yeah. So I think it's a good, I mean, from the beginning, you might not have so much money. And so rent-to-rent is a good start.
Absolutely. I always call rent-to-rent I don't really call it cash flow. I always call it a long-term flip. Because, but I've seen people make the mistake. They might get, as you say, if they get maybe 10, 15, 20 rent-to-rents, they'll have 3, 5, 7, 10,000 pounds a month of cash flow. And some people forget that they are rent-to-rents. They go out and they start spending this cash flow. They quit their job. And then 4 years later, their rent-to-rent contracts run out and they don't have any money and they've been unemployed for 4 years. And it's like, oh no. But so really what you need to do is, if you think of it as a long-term flip, and you guys are going to be making your money back every 6 or so months, which means over a 5-year period, you're quadruple isn't enough. I mean, you're 8 timesing your money on this, 8xing, 10xing your money, which means you could then go out and either buy 10 more rent-to-rents for each one you have and really build a huge portfolio, or each one might actually give enough money to go out and buy a buy-to-let or an HMO, which means these 6 turn into 6 actually owned properties, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think it's a good mix because we do this in order to actually get the cash flow. You can talk about it as the way you do, but to get the cash flow, but we're not going to use the cash flow.
Exactly.
So it's not going to be our salary.
Yeah.
It's more like, okay, we get the money and then later on we can purchase another thing.
Exactly.
So it's, of course, to have the finances to do another HMO or a third HMO or whatever business we're going to do. But also in the HMO that we have, we will actually get not all money out, but we have almost all money out when we're ready with it. So that means that when that is finished in February, we can move on to the next project. And that's the whole purpose of doing that kind of business, to actually get the money out. Even if it's not all, you can get like 80% out, and then you have 20% left in, and you will get that out during the time. And then you move on to the next project. So you still have money to move on to next project, to next project, to next project.
Yeah, I love it. And I love how you guys are building this strategy. As you say, you can call it a long-term flip. You can call it cash flow into the business. Essentially, it's a capital strategy, build capital. And I love what you say about the way you're doing the HMOs. It's, again, I'm going to terminology explain here when we talk about getting the money out. You guys are just so into it. You're so into the details. I love it. You're just talking the lingo. So I'm just going to explain it in regular English, but I love it, because what you're doing is you've spent maybe £200,000. I'm not going to say your real numbers. I'm not going to ask you to, but we'll say £200,000 on this property. It's going to, at the end, maybe be worth 250, and then you get a 70% loan to value. I'm not doing the math correctly, but we'll say you get about £180,000 back, £170,000 back. You get most of the money you've spent. We say you're left with $30,000 in the deal. We call it in the deal, meaning the money you didn't get back. And then you're making a cash flow continuing. You have a capital increase, and essentially you spend $30,000 for that HMO. And then you're getting back, you might be making a rental profit of £1,000 a month or something, which obviously makes the deal really, really good over time.
Yeah, that's true.
Very cool.
Right.
What a journey. So how has this whole journey kind of affected your lives? What's different today than, 4 years ago?
Oh. For me personally, I think I'm a more secure person, and I'm more, what is it called?
Confident?
Yeah, confident, absolutely more confident. I could be more, but I'm definitely more confident.
Well, you are Swedish. You got to be humble too, right?
Yes, exactly. More driven. I was driven before, but I'm even more driven now, I think.
Right. Your poor colleagues are terrified now.
And what else? I mean, everybody feels fear. And that was stopping us. The most of the time, most of people are feeling fear. Is it called fear? Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Absolutely.
And I think that I feel much less fear than I did before. Because if you're going to do something, you have to come out of your comfort zone. Otherwise, you will be completely still where you are.
Well, I think that's where you guys have been so courageous too, especially after jumping with both feet into the US, having, that's like, you basically touched the stove, burned your hand badly, and then said, well, I'll just try a different stove. And you put your hand right back on there and you went all in. And this time it turned out, I guess it's aloe vera this time, and your hand is feeling better. And I just love the fact that you didn't let one setback because one person turned out to be not what they made themselves seem. And it cost you money, but it didn't cost you your dreams. It cost you some time, it cost you some money, but you kept your dream alive and you kept the journey. And that's something to be truly inspired by. How about you, Susanna? How's this changed your life?
Yeah, it's changed my life as, I'm more confident. I've always been driven, but I think I'm more driven right now as well. But also that feel the fear and do it anyway. Yeah. And what I have changed a lot of things is that I'm now, I'm looking at motivational videos every day. I'm listening to books every day. Yeah. And your brain starts working in a different way. So, and I understand that what happens inside here, I don't always have to listen to the little voice inside my head, because that's what always people do, and that's why they are so afraid. And I think that's what really has become a good thing for me to understand what's happened inside between my right and left ear. It's not always true. And so that just keep pushing and say, okay, why does this voice tell you to do this? And why is it not telling you to do something else? And you can just stop it and do something else. I can say, okay, yeah, I hear you, but I'm going to do this anyway.
Very good. That's awesome. Yeah, I remember one of my first mentors talked about, and I don't remember, he took it from somewhere. He didn't come up with it, but about, that we all have two wolves inside us. And it's you decide which wolf you feed, the wolf of fear or the wolf of confidence. And you guys have been really feeding that confidence and that future and that goal-setting wolf. And I have to say, from both of you, we're loving your updates that you give us in the international property investors, your lives, the videos you share, the pictures of property deals you're doing. It's super inspiring for everyone. So if anyone wants to kind of reach out, learn more from you, follow your journey, obviously in the International Property Investors Group, they can, but how else can they reach you and learn from you?
Yeah, they can reach us through our Facebook page. We have one, which is for My Sweet Estate, because that's our company in UK.
That's My Sweet Estate. I'll add the link on here in the show notes. So Facebook, search for My Sweet Estate. You'll have a page. Very good.
Yeah. And then also, of course, our private pages, and they can just reach out via Messenger if they want to. And the International Property Group is really a good one, because a lot of people actually reach out. And that's also one of the good things, and getting the confidence and also being visible. Because if you're visible, people understand that you're actually doing something, and also telling the truth about what you actually achieve and the hurdles that you have. And that give them like it's the truth. We're not telling anything else but the truth, and that people feel that, and that's why they reach out.
I love it. Yeah, and I think that's one of the cool things that's happened in that Facebook community. We're not all, the window dressing that so many people do, where they just show like, oh, look, I bought this car, I bought this house. I love the fact that you're in there, you're being honest, you're saying, hey, we did this deal, this went wrong, but we learned this, and it's awesome, and then we're going to do this deal instead. And so you continue to move forward, and you're sharing that journey, which we really, really appreciate. So yeah, I'll put the links in the show notes. So essentially go to My Sweet Estate on Facebook, or in the International Property Investors Group, just search for Susanna or Cecilia. You'll find their posts, you'll find their profiles. Reach out if you want to learn more.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your incredibly busy day to spend with us and inspire us all to keep our journey alive and not let anyone steal our dreams. So you guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right, so everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us. I got some exciting news for you in a moment, so stay tuned. I'll speak to you soon. Thank you so much for listening to the Momentum Investing podcast. Wasn't that exciting? Susanna and Cecilia are truly amazing investors and really have made an exciting journey. To make sure that you don't miss any future episodes, make sure you subscribe to the Momentum Investing podcast. And if you want to start your property investing journey, if you want to get your portfolio off the ground, I would like to give you a free course, the 3 simple steps to property investing and the 3 most common mistakes that you investors make and that you have to avoid. The course is completely free. You go to momentumgift.com. That's momentumgift.com. You can join completely for free. If you want to become a successful property investor, that's the place to start. We'll show you how to do it, how it works, how you raise finance, and you can start on your journey. Now, our next episode is very, very exciting. You might remember a few episodes ago, I interviewed Judy Robinette. Judy is she's a networker, a master connector. She knows people in all stations of life, all over the world. She's been in Buckingham Palace, the White House, and just all over the world. So if you haven't listened to that episode, you really should go back and listen to it. Well, one of the things I love about Judy is that she continues to provide value. And she has done so for me over the last couple weeks, especially in months, because she's she's connected me to some amazing people. She's done some amazing introductions, among them to a gentleman known as Leo Hoff. Now, Leo is a business consultant, been doing business consulting for 20, 30 years, but a few years ago partnered with the head volleyball coach at a Division I college in the US. Now, what they did was they found out what was it that made sports organizations succeed, what made them winning organizations. Put that together, with what were the best practices from the best companies in the world. This together created a very well-rounded and very exciting way of building businesses or sports teams. Because if you look at it, sports are amazing at individual development, at personal development, at goal setting, while businesses are very good at creating systems, at creating pathways, at creating the best possible way to succeed and finding new angles to go about things. Now, if you put those two things together, the group success that a system creates, the accountability of the group, with the accountability of the individual, the goal setting, the personal development, you get a pretty perfect path to success. Now, I asked Leo to come on the show so I could interview him and hear, where is that intersection? What is it you need to do? How do you win? And how do you grow your business? Well, he shared that and more in the upcoming episode coming out next week. So make sure you subscribe to the Momentum Investing Podcast so that you may get what happens when you combine business and sports in the best possible way. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week.